Thank you very much for hosting this, Ujjwal. And to be honest, and I'm fully honest, these are the types of conferences that I appreciate the most. I'm not the biggest, the buzzwordy. I just like technical people.
Salesy pitch versus the trying to understand what is going on, like where is the magic happening kind of discussion.
This is where the magic is happening, I think, in these types of meetings, not in the marketing, PR.
And that's how my podcast, the name of the podcast is also Curious Circuits, to uncover the curiosity within us to see what is going on in the market and how are things happening behind the scenes under the hood. Max, thanks for your time, first of all, and taking your time out to join our this discussion over here. So I'll just quickly kick off the meeting, and then the floor is all yours to talk more about Floom.AI, etc. So this is a series that I've started back in December. It's called Generative AI and Enterprise, and let me introduce myself, right? So I'm Ujjwal Bhattacharya, work in the financial industry. Live in New Jersey, USA for almost 17 years now. And have been in this IT industry for almost 20 years. So I was working in some generative AI initiatives, and then I started looking at, hey, what other people are doing? So I'm kind of network, connect, learn from each other, and kind of go ahead from there. So that is the purpose. Nothing very, very fancy over here. Agenda of this meeting is typically we'll do a quick introduction, which I did about myself. So I would like to know about you also. And then we'll do a quick disclaimer, housekeeping, participant introduction, and let other people join. So disclaimer over here is this particular group is my own initiative, nothing to do with my employer. And any views, positions, strategies, or opinions are my own, right? Not my employer. So, and also the recording. So this session is being recorded, photographed. So if anyone, participant included, if anyone feels uncomfortable with the recording, so you have to let me know. And I'll be typically sharing this content in YouTube. So my channel is Curious Circuits in YouTube, and also I share content in LinkedIn also. That's pretty much it. Nothing fancy over here. We ask participants to be on mute, typical stuff. But if we are a smaller group, so we also kind of jump in and start asking questions. So that's okay. Audience intro. I'll just quickly go around the group over here and introduce yourself. So as I mentioned, I'm Ujjwal Bhattacharya, work in the financial industry. Nagarjuna, Vivek, if you can just quickly introduce yourselves, one-liner for Max to know who are you, and then we can get started.
Yeah, this is Rao, Nagarjuna Rao. Currently building some kind of generative AI for a startup, and work as a employee, and then also I have my own small startup asset. Thank you.
Vivek, if you...
Sorry, I'm under the weather a little bit today, so my voice is really bad. Anyways, my name is Vivek. Very nice to meet you, Max. I work in healthcare. I lead the IT for an independent review organization.
Okay. So that's pretty much it. So now pretty much Max, over to you. So let me do a quick introduction of Max based on what I saw in LinkedIn, right? So you have started your Floom.AI back in March 2024, but prior to that, you were CTO of Amdocs based out of Israel. You were part of CyberArk. Prior to that, you were a CTO of Enably, CEO and co-founder of Cards, Acquired, Chief Architect, Redix, and then CEO and co-founder of Power. So basically, I see a huge, serial entrepreneur kind of mindset. That's what I can see. So if you can tell us a little bit about yourself as well, Max, so that way we know you and then we can appreciate your work.
So, I forgot half the companies that you mentioned because there were so many of them. But
Sure, 100%.
I'm 35 years old. I'm into computers and technology, electrical engineering, and also software engineering, and especially cyber. Since a very, very young age, started just coding for fun, and went on from there. In my I started two companies. Both of them were bootstrapped. I never raised funds from any VC. And I think I started both of them for fun, like for the sake of, I have some kind of an issue and I want the startup to take care of this specific issue. Let's go ahead and have a company. So my companies that I started, one is basically a loyalty club. So it's a low-tech company, but it became one of the most popular loyalty clubs here in Israel, which is right now the most popular country on earth. And the second company that I started is Cards, which is essentially what's Apple Pay today and Google Wallet, basically the same, an Android wallet application that you install your device and you can use it for payments, for loyalty and membership card and whatever. We basically delve really hard into NFC, near field communication. That was really not that popular back then. And that's basically it. In my previous role, I was CTO of cyber for a company called Amdocs, which is quite a big 30,000 employees, Nasdaq listed company, for 4 years. And what happened, I think maybe what happened to basically everyone since the last year and a half is ChatGPT came out. And with ChatGPT, people, especially, computer science people and tech people, were really intrigued into understanding why and how can we use this thing inside our own company, inside our own products, and me as well. So this is why I started Flume, which is also a bootstrap company, by the way. And that's it, basically. You want me to share my slides? I have some slides.
No, that's beautiful. Yeah, go ahead. By the way, while you share your slides, by the way, feel free to share your slides. By the way, while you share your slides, so you'll be somehow we are related. So I also spent 6 months with Amdocs 10 years back in Dallas. So, but you were part of Israel, right? So,
yeah, I was kind of global cyber.
Okay.
But
global cyber. Okay.
Yeah, basically, I was handling all the technical security stuff. I never tried being the CISO because it's a hard work, and I decided CTO was better one. So it's good to know. It's a global company, 100 plus offices, and
yeah. So I was part of Amdocs Dallas in the Plano area.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, but it was a small time. I just spent 6 months over there, but it's a good company. Really enjoyed over there.
Yeah, quite a good company, good people, many people, and big processes, huge cloud.
Yeah, and I used to coordinate, be on calls with your Israel team back then. Yeah, so we had a great relationship over there, but it was long back, 10 years back. Actually, more than that, 11 years back. Good. Okay. So Floom.AI. So let's see what do you have.
So Floom.AI is basically what happened is, as I said, I started working with ChatGPT. I was amazed, by the efficiency or how it helps me write code and write text and generate other stuff. And slowly, we saw image generation. Now we see video generation, audio, whatever you can think of. I see GenAI, or as people refer to AI today, as basically a human brain, which is very scalable and very, very cheap compared to a human brain. Obviously, it's not the same quality, it doesn't know how to learn new stuff and so on, but it's based on the training that it went through, but it's still extremely impressive, especially coming from standard computer science, which is basically, just very absolute, understandable, predictable answers. And now you have this very ROG mechanism that returns different answers every time. So we spoke to many different companies, ranging from startups to enterprises. We tried to understand how are people integrating GenAI into their product. And we kind of learned that, first of all, not many people actually integrate GenAI into their production products.
Yeah.
It's all kept in this playground internally as a POC, people having fun and so on. For good reasons, by the way. Because, of liability and responsibility for the answers and so on. And we also found out that many product managers, and especially CEOs and, higher people in the company, they want to have AI inside the products, not only for the PR, but actually for the sake of efficiency and to help the customer experience and so on. And what we found out is, in many cases, this task of having this inception of understanding what kind of a new idea or how can I utilize AI in order for the product to be improved or the company to be improved, this task usually was brought down to data science group. Now, not all companies have data science group, and this is a very important message. Most companies have, the kind of the commodity, in quotes, which are software developers, and they are very much closer to the software, to the product itself. They know everything about APIs, but they know really little about AI. The issue here is GenAI is not machine learning. This is an API, basically, that you need to have inside some kind of a pipeline that will have security and privacy and performance of caching and so on, and obviously quality and testing. But the issue here is data science. They really are trying to play with this API, but they have the knowledge for machine learning usually. And you have this gap in between because you have this new kind of approach, which is an API first approach on one hand, but on the other hand, you need to have some knowledge such as RUG, retrieval augmented generation, vector databases, embeddings, and so on. So
now people are all talking about like AI agents and stuff like that.
Right. You have AI agents and you have many more ideas that people are working on right now.
Correct.
But overall, we see this huge potential in GenAI that is really kind of far away from the vast majority of the developers because they know nothing about LangChain and embeddings and so on. It's really this very remote kind of topic that only GenAI enthusiasts are learning. And this is keeping out the vast majority of the developers in the company. And as I said, on the other hand, you have the data science people who are experts in their own machine learning stuff usually, but they are very far away from the simple API. Just use GenAI with the simple API and that's it. So this is the gap that we're trying to fill. And what we found out that there are two basically problems, but let me just dive into Flume first. Flume is essentially an AI marketplace. This was the idea behind Flume. And this is me. We had the introduction already. And we are trying to solve this formula basically, which is your application plus AI. With GenAI, you can do a lot of stuff. When I speak to product managers, usually what I hear is when I ask them, what can you do with AI? They say text generation, code generation, and this is basically it. And this is really not the reality. Like with GenAI, you can do so much more. And these are just some examples. Generate, edit, extract, detect, transform. Just, translate code to text, text to code, code to other languages, detect objects in images, extract objects from text, from emotions, and so on. Edit things and obviously generate, which is the Gen in GenAI. And it all happens in multimodal. So you can do it in text, code, image, video, audio, speech. And this is why I say it's very similar to a human brain, but this time it's very scalable and cheap. And this is just one example of what can you do with natural language search. So just think of Amazon, you're searching for a specific product that you already know about. And in this case, you can actually speak, or you just speak to the Amazon search bar and just say, I want a reliable phone with a free plus years warranty, large screen like Samsung's up to $500. Just natural language. I'm thinking about my grandfather, who is constantly buying on Amazon. If he had this kind of assistant that he can speak to, this whole process will be much, much more easier for him. And it will obviously generate better revenue for Amazon.
So since you give that example, right? If you think about our grandfathers, they used to do this when there was no technology. They used to go to our shop and they'll just give this requirement and give me a reliable phone with a 3 years of warranty. And then this expert will go ahead and figure that out, right? So we are talking in natural language. And then artificially, we have introduced technology in the last 20 years, which was never there for 2000 years.
Exactly. What we are used to as tech people is not what normal people are used to. They're not used to, filling criteria and advanced search and understanding all these stuff. They want to speak natural language. And this is the best kind of approach towards humans, I think. And this is only one example. This is another example that we see very often on Amazon right now, which already have been proven to improve Amazon's revenue. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but when we used to buy in Amazon, we had this huge feedback fatigue. We went over many, many feedbacks. But right now, on the right side, this is the new approach of them. They're summarizing all these feedbacks into one big text, and they are extracting the categories one by one. So I can testify for myself, this made my experience in Amazon much better, like much smoother. Right? I don't know all the smaller details of what people are thinking about the product, but now I can decide within seconds if I want to buy it or not. And this is what I do. I just stopped going over the other feedbacks. And this is a great example of GenAI. Because both of these things, the text and also the categories are done with GenAI. And it's a very simple approach, very short code, very understandable one. And obviously all the other stuff, custom marketing, generating this custom marketing text for a specific person that you want to approach, and detect emotions. Just think of a customer service system that has many tickets in it. And obviously a company wants to avoid PR mess. So they want to prioritize the angry customers and answer them first. So just detect the emotion in the text. It's super easy with GenAI.
Yep.
Just another example, translate code. So, you have many older projects you want to translate. It's being done right now. And I even have a friend with a startup that's called Second, which is all about translating code.
Okay.
Super easy, and detect element. Just think of how much resources, knowledge, and money and focus you needed to have 1 year ago, just 1 year ago, if you wanted to achieve this. You had to have data science, machine learning, huge amounts of GPUs, and so on.
Basically, you're saying that generative AI has democratized and given us the superpower.
Absolutely, yes. Any developer can now use AI, theoretically, not in production yet, if they're not really experts in Gen AI, but it's really getting there. And this is exactly the gap that we're trying to close with Flume. So this is just an example of the learning curve or the headache that an average developer will encounter when they want to learn Gen AI. And we don't really want to expose people, with this specific mess, with RUG and new concept, new techniques coming out every day, filling our LinkedIn feed. We want developers to do what they do best, which is connect APIs. That's it. Even if they want to use very, custom AI use case. And that's basically what we're trying to bridge here. We have the AI potential on one side, and then we have the actual use of AI in products on the other side.
Which is today.
Yeah, this is today. And
Yep.
we think it's because of two things. The first one is the technical barrier. As I said, developers don't really know, most of them, about GenAI, LangChain, Llama Index, semantic kernel, embeddings and caching, and they don't want to host their own vector databases and so on. And the other thing is the lack of inspiration. As I said before, as I mentioned, product managers are mostly focused right now on what they see online, which is text or code generated. That's basically it. So we try to solve this with having a marketplace of use cases. And this is just a demo, that we did in Photoshop, although this is exactly what we're building right now. This is actually a marketplace of use cases. So think of a developer, of an average developer who knows really nothing about GenAI or AI. He goes into this marketplace and he says, you know what, I think, or the product manager told me to add this feature of extracting objects of an image, for the sake of an example. So he can click on this one, and then he will start the process of integration, which is extremely easy. It requires exactly zero AI knowledge from the developer itself. And there you have another example. So just chat PDF S3 Pro, whatever, just a name of a use case. We call every use cases, by the way, AI function. This is how we call them, because we wanted to resonate this message with developers. They know all about functions, and this time this is AI function. So with Chat PDF, we actually want to help developers install chat with some PDF files into their own product. Just think of documentation, for example. Instead of people searching for different pages and reading it so on, they can just ask a question and that's it. And this is done by simply clicking on this chat PDF. And this is an AI function.
Okay.
And then you have this actual archive that you receive, which we zipped inside a tar.gz file. And this is obviously portable because it's a file. You can send it anywhere to anyone in any platform. It's not limited to Python, geniuses. It's not limited to any type of a framework or programming language. You can run it actually anywhere, even in embedded systems. And this tar.gz file, which someone uploaded to the marketplace, basically consists of 3 different files. The first one is function.yaml, which is basically a manifest for this AI function. It describes what the function does. It describes the name of the function, the author of the function, and all the dependencies needed for this AI function to run. So some AI functions need vector databases, for example. Some need graph databases, some need transactional databases, some need other. We don't want developers to, having them to call their DevOps and begging to install this vector databases and signing on, different contracts and so on, and getting budget for this. And this is why everything is inside this manifest. All the dependencies are inside the manifest, and I'll show you an example in a sec. And there you have the second file, which is chain.py, which is actually the chain, the prompt, the logic behind the prompt. And you can use any runtime that you are used to. You can use LangChain, you can use Llama Index, DSPY, whatever you want to use, native code, and put this inside a declared interface, inside chain.py or whatever the file name is. And then you have the ingest, which is actually the data ingestion part. So if you want your chatbot to know about PDF, you have to first and foremost ingest these PDFs, go through an embedding phase with whatever LLM you choose, and then push them inside a vector database. So we kind of split this entire process into 2 different.
I have some questions over here at this point of time. Is it okay to ask now?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Okay. So you mentioned, I'll take a step back, right? And we talked about how generative AI is different from data science. And generative AI is not machine learning, rather it's an API first approach. Then you quickly went into that from a product manager standpoint, like why the implementation is so limited, because the vision is like now at this point of time only text and code generation versus the opportunities are great. And you gave a bunch of examples. You also talked about multimodal. Then we started getting into Floom.AI. Now, at some point of time, you also mentioned about like, okay, if you need a vector database, you do not have to like talk to your DevOps and get into the signing contract, etc. problems, right? And here comes Floom.AI. But my question is like, if I need to chat with PDFs, and if I need to put a PDF into a S3 bucket, and then if I need to do an embedding, the embedding goes into a vector database. So are you saying that Floom.AI brings the vector database along with it? Or like it gives me an interface to connect to a vector database of my choice? And then the vector database discussion still goes through the whole procurement and vendor management, etc., etc.
So it's a great question. Everything happens behind the scenes. I never expose the developers to, choosing a vector database and so on. You have the default manifest file that I'll show you in a sec. This is what it looks like. And you see one of the dependencies here is MongoDB.
Sure.
So it's chatbot with PDFs. They need MongoDB specifically for this.
Okay.
It's very similar to Docker file. Like in Docker file, you have references to things, to software that you need in order for that Docker to operate. And
but I still need MongoDB, right? I still need them.
Yes, you will have MongoDB because we will be the one, the Flume, its greatest component is called AI Orchestrator. And that's what really the engine behind the Flume. Just like Kubernetes or Docker desktop and so on, it takes this file, this manifest, it parses the file, and it understands which dependencies you actually need. And now it actually spins up these dependencies according to your own choice. You can choose having them on the cloud via just using Flume. You can have them on your own cloud in your AWS or Azure or whatever. Or you can even install them internally inside your own computer for testing and so on.
And now you Docker can as well.
Yeah. So the idea is you won't have to call your DevOps for each and every AI function. You just need to install Flume once.
Okay.
And now you add hundreds of different AI functions and everything maintained and orchestrated by Flume.
Okay.
This is basically the idea.
Yep. No, okay. So basically you're giving an abstraction one level above LangChain, right?
Yeah.
Now you just configure this, and then you have this three things. One is the function, the function chain, and the ingest. So basically, these are all configuration driven, and you just showed me the function. We'll go to the next two.
Exactly. Okay. Because we really believe that in the very near future, 1-2 years, we will see not one, not two AI functions integrations in products. We'll see hundreds of them. Because developers and product managers will get used to this extreme power, this magic of AI. Suddenly you have this feature, let's extract the categories. Let's summarize the text. Let's check for privacy issues and so on. And this is what we're trying to build, because obviously no one will call the DevOps for each and every AI functions. It will be a huge headache for everyone. And this is kind of the idea behind the AI orchestrator.
So is it fair enough to say that you're solving an abstraction on top of LangChain? Basically, you're solving at a DevOps layer.
I would say we are solving this in several layers. In product manager layer, because they will have inspiration for the first time.
Yeah,
AI
orchestrator.
And also
they have the vision. They have the vision. You're bringing a speed to market to that vision.
Exactly.
By orchestrating all these pieces together and putting it into the DevOps pipeline.
Exactly. And I would say the most important part, which Flume, is the developer. We don't require him to learn anything about AI, anything about LangChain or embeddings, or keep track with, whatever comes out each and every hour on Twitter or on LinkedIn, all the new techniques, because it's really impossible. And we just want them to have this use case marketplace. And that's it. Just like you use libraries, on NPM, on Visual Studio, and Nugget, and so on.
Yeah.
So,
Vivek has a question.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so just so I understand this correctly, Max. So if I were to use, the Flume orchestration layer, so to speak, is all the billing for the resources that get done? Yeah, I don't know. You probably have it hosted in some kind of cloud environment, right? Google or Amazon or wherever it is, right? Or Azure, but the billing for each of those resources that gets used, the nodes that get spun up, the memory and all of that, that's built by Flume based on the usage.
So you have several approaches here with Flume. You can use Flume Cloud, and then you pay for Flume. You pay Flume, and we take care of it. This is kind of our SaaS approach. But most enterprises, they don't wish to, exfiltrate their private data
Right.
to a startup from wherever it is. So this is where we come in with the Docker. So you can take our Docker, install it anywhere you want, and give it the right permissions. And from now on, each and every AI function will launch whatever resources it need. In most cases, vector databases, MongoDBs, and so on. But the idea here is each and every AI function is confined alongside with its resources only to the specific AI function. So you won't have this huge vector database for all the AI functions altogether. You'll have one instance of one vector database, which takes care of only one AI function. So this is kind of how we confine this entire thing and isolate, just to prevent problems, security problems, privacy, and resources, and so on. You'll still be able, if you want, to configure your own vector database. That's not a problem. Just, change the credentials, and that's it. The orchestrator will see that you have your own vector database credential and will use your own vector database. So that's the answer, basically.
Okay, thank you for that. So essentially within an organization, right, folks could actually go whichever way they want to, right? As long as they have access to some, whether it's cloud or on-prem environment, they can go whichever way they want to for their specific piece of the function or the AI piece that they're trying to do themselves. Okay, all right. I'm just thinking, right, from an infrastructure perspective, right? As a CIO or a CISO, right? What kind of response do you hear from them when you make a proposal like this?
So I would say, very technical kind of CIOs, which that have this task of integrating AI and being an AI first product, are very excited when they hear that suddenly they can integrate AI very easily without sending all of their developers to online courses and so on. But on the other side, people are afraid because this is a new approach, and it's all confined into one AI orchestrator. I would say it's very similar to what we felt when we started using Docker. And hopefully we'll be the next Docker for AI, but no one knows. But yeah, this is basically what we hear from people. But they are very kind of surprised when they see the variety of AI functions that you can actually utilize inside your own product. By the way, not only products, but also for different processes in the company itself, internal processes. So this
all of these components that are on the marketplace have been somehow validated for any security concerns, privacy concerns, right? Things of that nature. For example, right, I work in healthcare. High trust is almost a requirement for anything we do. Would you consider that these components are high trust certified?
So I would say this. I know healthcare are very concerned with PHI, and rightfully so, obviously. AI function is a very, very confined process. So it can all work internally inside your own Kubernetes, never go out to the internet. If you can even block it with a firewall, and just use your own GPUs, your own LLMs, your own AI models. So it's just like and this is one of the biggest kind of goals that we set, It's just like a software library, but now for AI. That's it.
Mhm.
Many companies, and this is, by the way, a great reference. We speak to different organizations who cannot go online. Some of them are medical, some of them are governmental, for many different reasons. And they have absolutely zero solution for AI integration right now. It's only writing code, setting up your GPU cluster, and trying to connect between both.
Right.
So that's kind of how this is our approach. And what you see right now is actually you take this function, this AI function, you deploy it into the Floom.AI orchestrator. And you have this Floom.AI orchestrator that can run, as I said, on your Docker, on your Kubernetes, on your local PC, on your cloud, wherever you want to run it. And this AI orchestrator orchestrates all of your AI functions, and it sits between your application and your AI model. It could be any AI model, by the way, completely agnostic to any AI model, multi-model, be it online, on-prem, we don't really care. The only thing that's left to do here from the developer's perspective, and this is super important because, comparing this to what they need to go through today, it's just downloading our SDK and write this 5 lines of code, and that's it. You have your AI function integrated into your application. Obviously, you can customize it with different parameters that you can give it, or even, dive into the code if you have this expertise in LangChain or whatever. But as an AI marketplace, we are striving, for people to upload better and better AI functions that are suitable for different use cases. So anyone can download them and just use these AI functions in there.
You charge for those components to be downloaded?
No, we don't charge anything for AI functions right now. And I would say right now, our approach is keeping everything open source, just for the sake of, understanding that you can trust the code, the AI orchestrator, just to be anywhere and so on. Maybe in the future, we're thinking about having this premier layer of, different AI functions that are built by experts and so on. But this is only the AI function itself. You can still run it anywhere. So that's the effort of a developer. And this is the revolution that we're trying to make, 5 lines of code versus months and months of learning, try and error, and so on.
Yeah.
And one really useful. I can tell you that this is really useful because, as you mentioned, right, there are this group of people. One is data science people who have actually spent years in understanding creating models. But now the model is already there, right? It's a generalized model. So it's more about like how quickly I can integrate that model. So bringing in a data science expert to quickly do the integration part might not be a correct fit. And asking a general developer to understand, how LangChain works might be also overkill, right? So you're trying to bridge the gap over it.
Exactly. This is exactly what we hear from people when we speak to them, in different companies. We hear this gap all the time from all the companies.
But then when the evaluation piece comes into picture, like what is the generative AI responding? So you have written the code, now it's say generating. So when the evaluation piece comes into picture, that's still a data science work, right? I believe, because you need to understand different models of evaluation, metrics, scores, etc.
I would not, rush to say that this is data science work, because it's not, you usually don't use GenAI for predictions. You don't have to have very accurate answers. And people are getting used to this, not only the consumers, but the developers, the companies, and everyone else. With GenAI, you have this very rogue API, but you can still easily use any evaluation tool because we are using standardized, in quotes, runtimes, such as LangChain and everyone else. Mm-hmm. So you can use any existing evaluation tool, plug it inside within seconds, and having this AI function tested, changed, whatever. So this is kind of how we view this. And
Okay. Go. Let's go move ahead. We'll be running out of time. So we have 20 It is a fantastic discussion. Mac.
How much time do we have left, by the way?
We have 20 minutes.
Okay. So,
So please go ahead, Rush. And
Yeah.
I'll hold myself in asking more questions. Maybe we'll keep it at the end.
So one of the issues, when we started Flume, we called it an AI gateway. This is exactly what Portkey is doing and all the other companies. There are many, many companies doing the same right now. An AI gateway is essentially a very simple solution. It's a proxy that you connect your AI code, your LangChain into, and this proxy sets up this kind of a pipeline. And now you can put different plugins on it. So you can put a GenAI security company as a plugin. You can put privacy companies as a plugin, caching, performance, whatever, to make your AI pipeline more, absolute, more with better quality for you to have better responses from it, or cheaper responses or faster response. So what we did with Flume is we also added the AI gateway part into the AI orchestrator part. So in the end of every AI function, you can install what we call plugin. So for example, we have this company called Pillar Security, which is kind of leading, we would say the GenAI security, kind of an AI firewall. They make sure you don't have different security problems such as prompt injection, different smuggling attacks, confusion attacks, and so on. And instead of having them installed and, actually, again, calling your DevOps and having this entire cycle, you can just add them as a plugin into our system. And this way, you will have a fully regulated, completely, production grade connection from your application to AI, whichever AI, wherever it is hosted. So the idea, you finished your AI function, you deployed it. Great, you want to add security. Let's go and select a good security company from the marketplace as a plugin. Let's click on it and it will be installed automatically inside your AI function. Same with privacy, performance, caching, and so on. So that's kind of the idea behind what we call plugins. And that's basically it. This is actually a QR code, by the way, made with an AI QR code generator. This is Flume, and this is all evolving. This is the third iteration of Flume. We started as an AI gateway, then we moved to, we improved the AI gateway, then we understood that the problem lies within the actual inspiration and the actual integration. So this is where we are today.
Awesome. So one question is, how does people use it? So for example, today, I saw like your code is already in GitHub, right? So I can just go to GitHub, download it, and then start using your projects. How do you keep up with this new methods and functions and capabilities that LangChain and LangGraph, LangFuse, what is the other one? Llama Index, keeps on adding, right? So how do you keep up with that?
Great question. So first of all, the third iteration of Flume is still not online. It's in private beta. So people can sign up easily, email us, just text me on LinkedIn or whatever. We'll have you joined into the private beta. Right now you have the AI gateway online, but this will change in a matter of 2 to 3 weeks. When we will have our GA version online. The second question is, how do we keep up with all the changes in Llama Index and semantic kernel and, LangChain, VSPY, and so on? The great thing about Flume, and this is the huge change that we made with the third version, is we don't care which framework you use and what functionality you use inside this framework, because we only wrap whatever logic there is in your LangChain project and so on. So what we're building right now is the ability for people to, write code in LangChain, in Llama Index, DSPY, and upload this in this manner that will work with Flume in a specific interface that we define. It's really easy. You take your existing code with LangChain, and you just adhere to our interface, which is a matter of seconds, and then you just upload the file and that's it. We create this star.gz file that I showed you earlier with, whatever runtime you want, and that's it. So this is kind of, we only package the logic. We don't write the logic by ourselves.
So, okay, so then I'm a little bit lost over here. Let me ask that question one more time. So initially my thought was like, I as a developer I need to do a chat with PDF functionality. So I need to write a bunch of LangChain code, understand how to consume data from an S3 bucket, embed it, and put it in a vector data store, right? So before that, even I need to understand what is a data store, which data store that I'm using, vector database, right? So vector data. So what is a vector database? Which vector database that I want to use, and then what kind of PDF, how the embedding works. So I had to understand that, plan for it, write code, deploy, maybe a Python. Now, with Flume function coming into picture, my understanding is Flume function is doing that work. I am using Flume function and supplying parameters. This function is dedicated for a purpose, and maybe the purpose is, chat with PDF, right? The underlying code is written by Floom.AI. Is that still a correct understanding?
So the underlying code inside this AI function is not necessarily written by Flume's team. Anyone can write his own logic. Let's say I want to create, just like I'm writing libraries for C#, for C++, and so on.
Okay.
You write your own logic in LangChain, DSPY. Let's say you want to create the best chat with PDF or chat with PowerPoint.
Or maybe so that becomes a library that gets uploaded as a library somewhere, right?
Yes.
You're creating our dependency. You're creating the dependency. Okay. I tell which library to use. I tell which MongoDB or their vector database to use. I tell where is my S3 bucket. Now you're packaging all those things together, and now you have a deployable unit ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are only referencing.
So you're a reference. Okay. Makes sense. So that means that today LangChain has one version of their whatever API that they're creating, and then I have built a library on top of it using LangChain. Now, if I want to use like a different version, maybe Llama index I want to use, then I have to come up with a different library. And then the consumer of the library, which is using Flume, now references the second library rather than the first library.
Yes. The idea is you have to have Flume as an intermediate layer between what the developer know right now, which is not a lot about GenAI, and specifically about LangChain and so on. And the other thing, which is the actual logic of, whatever you write. So let's say I want to have, and I'll just give an example. I want to write, the best emotion extraction script that works with ChatGPT, for example, or with whatever, different, Mistral and so on. So what I do is I simply write the code in LangChain because I'm a GenAI enthusiast. I know about, LangChain and so on. Yep. This is what I like to do. And I finish writing this code. I now package this inside an interface that adheres to Flume code, which is very, very simple. It's just one line of a CLI, kind of command. And then you have the star.gz. Now you upload this star.gz into Floom.AI marketplace or your own repository, by the way, if you don't want to expose, your own AI logic or whatever, especially for medical and economic and so on, then you will have just open your own repository and upload your own star.gz there, and that's it. So we are just the intermediate layer in between. This is what we do.
Okay. So basically you specialize in packaging all those AI solutions together.
Exactly. Yeah. And, executing them, managing them for you.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. The deployment as well. And then, I can go ahead and deploy it. Once the package is done, I can deploy it in my container.
And you can have it portable, by the way, which is a cool thing, just like libraries. Let's say you have this, it's also a problem I didn't mention, by the way, but in Amdocs or, other big companies, I'm sure it happens all the time. You have one team and one person inside this team that likes GenAI, likes LangChain, whatever. He writes his code. Now you have a different team that wants to implement a very similar feature in a different product.
Mhm.
With Flume, it's portable. You can take this code, package this as an AI function, ship it to your friend in another department, and he can immediately use it and just run it inside their existing infrastructure
Mhm.
with zero headaches. So that's kind of the idea.
Can you tell me the difference between the AI gateway and the other one that you mentioned? Like I kind of like lost track of it a bit.
Yes. So an AI gateway is in kind of a new concept, a fairly new one. I was one of the first to speak about it, maybe the first, I don't know. And I even wrote a blog post, and this is what Flume was earlier. This is the first version of Flume. It's just a proxy. So one of the problems right now is you write code in LangChain or whatever, you connect to an AI model.
Correct.
And then you have the CIO, saying, please add an AI firewall layer that will take care of prompt injections or whatever, DDoS attacks and so on.
Yeah, confusion at multiple things you mentioned. Okay.
Yes. And this is basically what an AI gateway is just a proxy that sets up this pipeline. You add different plugins and that's it.
Like
But
a thing, like a Kong, like an API gateway proxy layer
Exactly.
of there. You mentioned.
Exactly the same. It's just a proxy.
Okay.
And to do other things, caching and relay and whatever, but it's very, very simple. It's really kind of very low on intellectual property.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem here is not the gateway. It's not the proxy. It's the integration itself. And this is what we're doing. And that's what our AI orchestrator is handling. The actual AI integration of AI functionality into your application. We do have the AI gateway on the end of the pipeline, but that's kind of a feature that we just give out, because we understand that people, CIOs, CISOs, whatever, they need to have it because of regulations. And obviously it makes a much better pipeline at the end. This is the end.
So, let me repeat that. So a developer creates a library, which is specialized in a function, right? And then I, as a developer, will go ahead and publish it as a library to some repository. You do not, create any rules saying that, okay, you have to publish it over here. Publish it anywhere.
Use it anywhere.
Yeah. So then, as a consumer, someone creates a AI function referencing that library and referencing any other dependencies that I need to run in order to use the library. Okay.
Yes.
So that part is done. So I have now an AI function. Then on top of that, I want to add an AI gateway. Conceptually, I'm just thinking, right? So I have this function. I'm adding an AI gateway on top of it, which is now adding all the security features over here and exposing it as a service. So, okay, let me take a step back. I have created a function. I have added a proxy layer on top of it, which is an AI gateway. And then I have added all these security layers on top of it. So is that one single unit now of deployment?
Yes. In your perspective, as a person who's either building this or deploying this, it is one single AI function that is defined very well because it has the logic, which is, someone else built it or you yourself built it. And then you have the gateway side, which covers all your regulation needs.
This is like a wrapper on top of that logic.
Exactly.
So any request that comes in goes through the gateway first. We do all the validations, whatever with. Now, how do I do the validation? You're not writing the implementation of the gateway, right? You're creating the package. So again, like there has to be a set of AI gateway services or security modules that needs to be written by someone. So where do I get it? Right? Are things like that available or people need to build?
Yes, there are several companies. We are working with two of them. And the main one that we're working on a daily basis is called Killer Security. And we have also Prompt Security and many different other companies that are kind of doing the same AI firewall. want to start setting these things up because you don't only have AI firewall. You have a privacy solution, you have a caching solution, relay, whatever solution. And you want all of these things to work in line in one pipeline that will simply have you, that will result in a working AI function. So what we do is we have this marketplace that we're working on right now, and it consists of both AI functions, which is the logic, and also plugin. And plugins, one of them, for example, is pillar security. So you just click on this plugin and you will have your AI function connecting automatically to an instance that was just started in Pillar Security Cloud. You can, by the way, use their solution offline, on-prem, whatever you want, but you will have to have their Docker installed inside your own environment, inside your own Kubernetes. So it's up to you, basically.
Okay. And then I'm just trying to think about the stack. So I write the code, I apply Floom.AI as a packaging solution for my code to connect all the dependencies. Then I apply the AI gateway, which integrates with all the different service providers. Maybe it's Pillar Security, maybe it's something else. So now I have a stack. I have a bundle stack that is ready to be deployed in some container. Now I'm exposing that stack as a service, maybe as an API, right?
It is an API.
And then I apply an API gateway on top of it for other API gateway, like the enterprise level standard. So AI gateway is not replacing API gateway. Just wanted to make sure like my understanding is correct.
Right now, they're not. Maybe in the future there will, but specifically, it depends on their IP really, because what they do is kind of complex. They need to identify prompt injection from different other attack techniques in GenAI security. I'm not sure that API gateways will, kind of gather up and start implementing all of these solutions, but maybe in the future. And it's very, very similar. But an API gateway is usually kind of in reverse. It sits, between the website, between the endpoint and the website itself. With us, we do our AI orchestrator. It only hosts the AI function, and then as a developer, when we saw the code earlier, you use our SDK, which is available for pretty much all languages, by the way. C#, Java, Node, Python, C++, whatever you're looking for. And as a developer, you have this new endpoint for you. So if you want to chat with PDFs, we call this chat with PDFs 1, and this is your working AI function endpoint. Your developer will connect to this endpoint. Everything is already configured inside this endpoint. The AI gateway, the logic, whatever you want is already there. Your developer will not have to do anything. Will not have to change any. This is kind of the idea. So it's very similar, kind of in a way to cloud, because you set up new instances, everything is configured once or, twice online, and then you use it for your logic part. So that's kind of the idea.
Did you also?
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was waiting for. Okay. So how is it, I would not call this as a, but I know you are encapsulating everything and then are giving only one line of code for a developer to do it. The question is, how is it, let's say if you are trying to build a chatbot in the dialog flow and using the Gemini and then Vertify with flashing all the documents, video documents to it. Versus there also it does a lot of encapsulation, and then in DevOps also it's taken care, and then scaling up, scaling down is taken care. So how is it different from if I'm building a chart bot in the dialog flow versus the Flume? That's one question. And the second question is, and you mentioned about you can switch any LLMs from your Flume, and then any website databases or anything that you can plug in and use them. So how you can deploy this as your internal deployment or in our data center or in the cloud, right? So scaling up, scaling down is also taken care as part of this process. Understand what you're. So how is it different from today? The cloud services are providing these kind of encapsulation also. Yeah, how is it different from the existing? These two questions.
Okay, so good question. The first one, on the DevOps part and, calculations, and every team member has its own responsibility. You have this AI pipeline. This is what we call a pipeline. A pipeline consists of a gateway and also the logic inside. And everyone can tap into this pipeline really easily using existing tools of evaluation, of cost management, of caching, of whatever you want to do with it. And you can get the information out and also affect on what's happening inside the AI pipeline itself via APIs. So that's the first question. And the second one is this is basically a packaged script that's written in LangChain. We have this intermediate interface in between the resources that LangChain accesses, such as LLMs or vector database, and you can easily define what LLM you want to use. So we interfere in this LangChain script, and we kind of inject your own credential and your own LLM endpoint and your own vector database. So this LangChain script will work exactly according to your definition of how it should work. And it's different from the cloud, not because of the infrastructure layer, different because it's much closer to the developer. Cloud service providers, CSPs, are not offering any type of solutions or library for the actual developers to integrate AI. They are only saying set up an LLM instance by whatever, how many GPUs you need, set up this load balancer, and that's it. But on the logic side, which is the bigger part in the huge formula that is called AI integration, you have zero solution. You have to write code, and a lot of it. And you have to learn a lot of code, and you have to maintain all the other stuff. So just like Docker, by the way, and this is where we got most of our ideas from. With Docker, is Kubernetes, it's CI/CD in a way because it's a streamlined pipeline, and this is where we get our inspiration from. We are just a manifest kind of software company. You define a manifest, you use whatever logic inside, and that's it. You just execute this wherever you want, with whatever resources you want. And this is basically Flow. The main idea in a sentence is helping companies integrate AI in minutes and not in months. And this is basically what we're doing.
Yeah, so maybe I would, do you have any examples that the most is that might help? To go back to my first question, if I'm building the chatbot, you still have to define the flow of, this is my question I'm asking the customer, this is the response I'm getting the that flow you still have to define in the dialog flow. When the remaining thing is encapsulated in the BCP, right? So in the case of Flume, then how is that? Look here, you have to build a chatbot phase. You put that inside the manifest file, like this is my flow, and then and define for this question, this is the answer you get, then you could, with the next answer or next question, something like that the chatbot asks. So you do that manifesting inside the Flume, the manifest file, you mean? The flow.
So if I get your question correctly, if you're asking about specific qualities of an AI function, how it handles different scenarios, the idea behind the AI marketplace is to have a variety of different solutions. So, if I write my own chat with PDFs and it's the best one in the world, I will upload it. Many people will download and use it. You will have different varieties of different approaches towards, chatbot implementation. So eventually you will most likely use the best one with the best rating. And this is, I would say, I think this is the answer to your question.
But thank you.
Hopefully, Nagarjuna, you got your answer.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Max. Yeah.
By the way, you can, send me a message over LinkedIn and we'll have a very long discussion on this.
Yeah, sure. I will do that. Yeah, thank you.
I also want to play around with your GitHub and see. I saw you have a bunch of examples over there, so definitely worth playing around. And
we'll have a much more examples very, very soon. In about 2 to 3 weeks, we are releasing this GA of Flume with the AI Orchestrator, the AI Marketplace, and everything else. It's right now being tested, it's being used, and we're collecting feedbacks, trying to improve, and so on. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Max. I wish you all the best and wish you there are million subscribers to your Floom.AI GitHub, and we see Floom.AI being used all over the place. So that is the wish. So
Thank you.
hopefully we'll be connected maybe a few months down the road to see what new features you are coming up with, some more exciting discussions. Until then, I'll say goodbye to you. Thanks for connecting.
Thank you very much for hosting this, Ujjwal. And to be honest, and I'm fully honest, these are the types of conferences that I appreciate the most. Not the biggest, the buzzwordy. I just like technical people.
Salesy pitch versus the trying to understand what is going on, where is the magic happening kind of discussion.
This is where the magic is happening, I think, in these types of meetings, not in the marketing, PR.
And that's how my podcast, the name of the podcast is Curious Circuits, to uncover the curiosity within us to see what is going on in the market and how are things happening behind the scenes under the hood. Thank you so much, Max.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you all. Yeah.
Bye-bye.